Let's get the camera set. Right, and thanks again for everybody for coming out for the monthly roundtable. Thanks for coming out, supporting everything. Want to welcome Kelly Tubbs, our guest speaker today. It's kind of a last minute thing. We had to thank you again for making it out.
No problem.
Here to talk about the suicide prevention program here over at the VA, which I know is we are kind of still in like suicide prevention awareness time frame right now, especially like with everybody coming out of quarantine still, and a lot of people still kind of adjusting with everything. It's still a very valuable resource that we're still seeing a lot of need for. So thank you for that. Elliot, I'd like to invite you up real quick for your opening remarks.
Thank you very much. Good to see everybody here in the office and on in the room and online as well. Director Domingo here with Mayor's Office of Veteran Affairs. Know most of you, and thanks to our speaker today. Much appreciated. Just give quick updates on my end for the kind of the situation awareness of the veteran community here in DC and what the office is doing. So, I speak weekly with the DCBA Medical Center Director, Director Heimal up there. We are at the lowest COVID rate since the pandemic began, so it's great to see. So, we are we're doing well. The veteran community has always been a leader in the vaccination rates and everything, but starting to show. So DC is open. We are back to normal, but we're going to be cautious about it. Just get your boosters, and hopefully, we won't have to talk about this too much longer. Obviously made a large impact on our community and everyone, but I think we're getting through it. Some information on MOVA, just our claims numbers, things like that, like the report out. So for our claims program, Stuart Lee, our new claims officer, has been doing excellent work. Mr. Robert Pearson, who set up our program after 2.5 years with us, he moved on to a different position and did a great job getting Stuart signed up and locked on and trained with us. And we're going to miss Robert, but he did a great job getting the program set up over the last 2.5 years. And we do have an opening for a VSO. So if anybody knows a veteran service officer that's accredited that would like to work for us, there is a position. So please go on MODA and apply. So our claims number through FY21 into 22, 116 VA benefit award notifications have come in. This equals 1.8 million in monthly recurring federal compensation, and one-time retroactive awards of 318,000. So we are seeing our veterans get the benefits they deserve. Veterans program is doing well. We've over 851 DC veterans have utilized the program since its beginning. 7,239 rides over the last year to medical appointments, education courses, food distribution. Rich is our PIO and our program manager for this program. So if you want to enroll, please do. We'll put more information in the chat on how to enroll and everything. But it's Veterans for any veteran that makes under 45,000 a year. It used to be 30, but now we've upgraded it to 45. So any veteran that makes under 45,000 or recently unemployed can sign up. They get 16 ride vouchers a month anywhere in the district, Monday through Sunday, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And we've also included CBOC and CMP exam sites in Virginia and Maryland. So they go to Bethesda, things like that. So please utilize the program. It's here. It's well funded. And finally, our LGBTQI coordinator, Val Williams, doing great work over there with LGBTQ office. She's there every Wednesday, serving our veterans. So please utilize her services as well. And also does a lot of housing for us. April was a great month. So our first restorative yoga session occurred with Mo Edu and Steve Wynn's network. The next one will be May 13th at 12 p.m.
May 9th.
May 9th?
Yeah, date's incorrect.
May 9th at 12 p.m. Cannabis 101 veteran course occurred with Ms. Teresa Jackson of We Decode. So appreciate that education, focusing on cannabis as a medication, not a recreational drug, and the benefits it provides. And then yesterday we had our Vets Pro Bono DDT14 upgrade clinic and educational seminar. So we'll be getting those clinics going again, probably quarterly, like we did before the pandemic hit. So if you know veterans that want to have that DD214 review, if they have anything less than honorable. What this is it's basically we set up the screening. So it's not like you're going to get your EDT-14 upgraded that day. What you're going to do is sit down with a lawyer. They're going to review it, see if there's a case there. If it is, they'll take it pro bono and they'll work that case with the DoD for you. We have many events coming up in May, which we'll be advertising through our newsletter and we'll put out to everyone. And I'll turn it over to our speaker, Mr. Tubb.
So, thank you. I'll kind of do two parts. I have slides that just kind of go over my role in the VA, but I've been in the VA for a while and I'm well versed in it. So I'll just go over my role, my day-to-day, my job in the position, and then I can open it up if there's any specific questions regarding barriers to care or just VA in general. I'm gonna slide over. Perfect.
Put your slide deck up here.
Oh, thank you. Let me make sure it's awesome. Oh, I need the camera right there, don't I? Perfect. Oh, is your mouth wireless? I can shoot that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Is everything coming up correctly on the screen? All right, Aaron's giving a thumbs up, so it's
Perfect.
a good sign.
Let's roll. Okay, so my name is Kelly Tubbs. My title is Community Engagement Program Coordinator for the Suicide Prevention Program for the DCVA. The VA loves their acronyms. It's short for CPEC. So when you hear me say CPEC, just Community Engagement Program Coordinator. So the CPEC position is relatively new. I've been in it since September. It's only about a year old. The idea and the goal is to have CPCs in every VA by the end of fiscal year 2022. Now I'm housed with the suicide prevention team. Oh, thank you. So if you're familiar, each VA has a suicide prevention program or team. That's where I'm housed. A lot of individuals, specifically in the community, may be familiar with SPCs or suicide prevention coordinators. So basically, kind of the difference in role. While I am with the suicide prevention team, my role is pure community engagement, coalition building, identifying resources in the community, identifying stakeholders that may be interested in working towards ending veteran suicide. SPCs, the difference is they're more the clinical side. So for example, my role would be maybe identifying a gap in care in the community, getting with community members, forming a coalition to meet that gap. To whereas the suicide prevention coordinators are more clinical. So you have an individual identified at high risk for suicide. How are they going to be treated? Are they going to be high risk flags, so they have contact every week? Are they going to be linked to behavioral health? So that's kind of the difference. If you hear about CPCs, they're going to be more the clinical aspect. I'm going to be more the community engagement aspect. I don't know why I keep forgetting there's a mouse here. All right, so in my role, the goal is to eliminate veteran suicide through 3 priority groups. These are the priority areas and groups. If you're familiar with the Governor's Challenge, Maryland, Virginia, they're the same priority areas. The main difference between the Governor's Challenge and CPEC roles is Governor's Challenge taken at a statewide macro level. CPCs are at the county micro level. So, and on those 3 priority groups, those stay consistent, but how you meet that priority group and how you meet that measure is going to reflect the coalition. So identify service members, veterans, and their families. One thing I really like about this program is it doesn't just apply to veterans. The first priority is service members, veterans, and their families for suicide risk, because we hear a lot about veterans who experience suicidality, veterans who attempt suicide. If that individual has a close-knit support group, that's going to affect the support group, right? So, and it's like, okay, if this individual is experiencing this, are there other people in the house who may also be depressed? Has someone else maybe at risk for suicide? So that priority group doesn't just focus on veterans, it focuses on the community as a whole that veteran is a part of. I'm a big fan of the connectedness and improved care transitions. My background, I come from community mental health. If you're familiar with ACT programs, that's where I am. I'm just an ACT kid at heart. One thing I realized when I got out here is that everyone may be familiar with the VA, but it's like, okay, if I have a veteran in crisis, how do I get this veteran from point A to VA services? How do we improve that? So that's one area, but it can also be as simple as just linking community providers with specialty care providers in the VA to improve those care transitions. And then lethal means safety and safety planning. There's a lot of focus because the number one means used would be firearms, but lethal means can be anything. If you have an individual who is diabetic and having thoughts of harming his or herself, that insulin can be a lethal means. So it's pointing that out. A lot of individuals I've noticed really hone in on like firearms. And while that's important, lethal means and what we focus on is what would that individual use to harm his or herself? And can we put a barrier that maybe, even if it's 2 seconds, stops that? So those are the priority areas we look at. So this is kind of like an overview, basically. I won't go too much into detail because I kind of talked about the difference between CPECs and then SPCs. So this kind of talks about it. Even though coalition building is primarily what I measured on, how many coalitions in a year, a lot of that other stuff is very important. I'm a huge fan, again, of education on suicide prevention and also enhance and expand suicide prevention efforts, because my thought is it's great if the VA has all these innovative ideas to push out, but if the community that VA is housed in has no clue or the VA isn't engaging, it's not going to be as effective. So those are kind of the CPEC overviews. I kind of go back to the difference between an SPC. An SPC is going to be more focused on those innovations in treatment. It would be my role to ensure that the community is aware and has linkage to the VA, whether it's coalition or education.
You mean like when they do a community care consult or?
So two different pieces, yes. So yeah.
Go continue with what you're.
Okay, yeah. I can dive in, but yeah. I don't get me started on care on the community. Yeah.
I don't want to forget.
Oh yeah. No, please do. Because anyway, I get excited because I know the CITC. So again, now these are the like more specific roles of my job: develop, facilitate, and strengthen community-based intervention, suicide prevention at community, state, and visit levels. My favorite is to collaborate with VA programs and community stakeholders. Again, for example, like last week with Sharissa in the We Decode and the medical cannabis usage. There could be veterans concerned about telling their provider to use marijuana for medication purposes or to help them cope. So when those series put on, I love being involved in getting the word out so people can be educated. Disseminate program evaluation and surveillance data. That's more related to coalition. Once those get going, analyzing data and the needs assessment and all that good stuff. And then this kind of goes into what I was talking about. Again, the role is to develop coalitions to address veteran suicide. I focus a lot more on the partnerships. These are just basically data showing that the more partnerships in the community, the more community engagement there is, the likelihood there is the better outcomes. And it doesn't even have to be coalition work. It can just be as simple as, the example I give is I was presenting to Alexandria Emergency Services, and they didn't know if they get a veteran in crisis, how can we get this person services? My first question was, is this person enrolled at a local VA? Oh, we don't know. Okay, so just starting at that base point and letting them know how to find the 1010 EZ, it seems so small, but it can lead to that person getting linked and that person getting connected. So I just put that up there to show like the partnerships wise is very important in this. Because again, the community can have amazing resources for veterans. Like, for example, the vet rides. I'm going to tell social work service at the VA, but I can imagine like if someone needs a ride back from the ER and if VA providers don't know the services out there, they're not going to be utilized. So
I just had that situation yesterday.
with
When someone comes into ER through EMS, the social worker arranges a ride for them to get home. That's a service provided by the hospital.
which
All hospitals, doesn't matter.
community or VA wise?
Excuse me?
Did you say community or VA wise when you said you had a situation with a veteran? Was the veteran at a VA hospital or?
No, they were community.
Oh, okay.
Any community hospital. I work from UVA and Salem and all the way up Baltimore and New York, and that's any hospital. When you come in through EMS, social worker arranges a ride. Now, I don't know about VA. VA just tells you, oh, well, suck it up. Because the 911, when you call 911, they take you to the nearest facility, and then it's usually not my VA.
Yeah. Let me
Go
get,
ahead.
no, I'm gonna get back because you said something I remember. I just don't want to forget. And so again, this is basically once the coalition is developed. I won't spend too much time on the coalitions because I, want to talk about barriers and everything. But this is basically the role of coalition members. Shared vision. How it works is, long story short, how a coalition is formed is we meet with stakeholders. If they're interested in pursuing, the individuals come together. We meet. Everyone's in. Great. From there, a planning session takes place. That's when the needs assessment is conducted. It can be a needs assessment. If you're familiar with SWOT or SOAR, they're more corporation management ways to strategically plan. My method is I like going over with individuals that work in the community. What are your day-to-day challenges when working with veterans? Not that veterans are challenging, but this veteran may need a service. What do you find difficult in achieving that, getting that services?
Veterans are challenging. We are challenging. And
Yeah.
that should be the first thing we say. We're veterans and we're challenging.
Veterans are a lot of people are challenging. So that's when you kind of look at that. But what I meant is as far as specific service, because we're fortunate in this area, it's fortunate there's a lot of services, but when you get in an area, let's say that's like really smaller and rural, like I used to do care coordination. So I think Idaho maybe has 1 or 2 CBOCs. When you get there, that's kind of when it gets more challenging. So I like the individuals to come. What do you experience in your day-to-day that are barriers to services? And then what are you great at? And then looking at those, I feel that benefits the veteran community and the community at hand because you have individuals specifically identifying what's getting in the way with veteran treatment. You have individuals identifying specifically what they're good at and bringing all those together. That's kind of how the formulation goes regarding priority groups and the steps. At least that's my process. And then these are basically the goals. I've kind of talked about it. Short-term objectives would be just as simple as a crisis center now knowing veterans how to get them enrolled in the VA or linked. The intermediate objectives are up there, and that's basically kind of more detailed. So we go from getting that person information to getting them connected. And then finally, hopefully the impact of this program is a reduce in veteran suicide, deaths, and attempts. All right. Ran through that because I know like VA, barriers of care, a lot of information comes up. So I just wanted to kind of give my role and then I'm open up, discuss anything. I know VA pretty well, so happy to answer anything, hear anything or not.
Yeah, no, one question I had, I continuously hear 22 a day, 22 a day.
Mhm.
Where are they getting those numbers from? And do you see, based on the implementations of projects that you're doing, a reduction in those numbers?
So I can actually answer that question.
Go ahead.
So the number 22 originally came out around, it was like 2010, 2011 was the first like major time they were promoting that number and saying, hey, this is how many people are, like the statistics were showing it at that time. They've been actively keeping track of that number every year. At least they were all the way up through, I think the data is up all the way through 2020 right now. The number at 2019 had actually dropped down to 18. And we were making very good progress with it. And then once quarantine happened, the preliminary numbers right now for 2020 are showing that that number skyrocketed up into the 40s.
Yeah.
So the number 22 is still highly publicized. However, that data has been fluctuating quite a bit. At one point, it was down to 20, and then it was down to 18. And then again, now with quarantine, that number has gone back up. But 22 is still like thrown out there as like the
veteran only or
no, that this all this statistics is just the veteran numbers.
just veteran?
This is just veteran
Just
numbers.
Oh, I was just gonna.
I got it.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
there's a lot of organizations that have formed around the 22.
And then that's what it is. Again, it's because the 22 gets publicized more than anything. However, there's so many more. Like all of the research shows that like that number has not been static over the past 10 years. It has been fluctuating. It's gone up and down for the most part. Again, it was going down until recent events.
Nice. Yeah. Couldn't say it better myself, so I'm not going to.
So I have a question. Why are we focusing on how many people die rather than how many people survive the suicide? There are a huge number of people that attempt and survive, whether they're revived or they're just not successful.
There's just
why
not
are-
enough data on that. There's no way to tell the data on how many people survive because a lot of the times people don't report their survivals.
And then also, one great example that ties into what you said is when you look at overdoses. So there are some counties that if a person tries to commit suicide by overdose and that person survives, it doesn't go down as a suicide attempt. It just
They go to jail.
It goes down as an overdose and they go to jail.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it doesn't go down as a suicide attempt. So that number, like, they're not looked at as having been a survivor of suicide. It's just that, oh, they overdosed.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of, that happens occasionally, and that can kind of skew the number.
And it-
Myself, there are CPCs who bring in, analyze the data and everything. Personally, I don't. I feel that when you're working with someone, well, coalition building, coming together, and we're talking about what do you see as barriers to veterans getting services, that kind of starts addressing things. Like, one deal is if an individual needs financial resources, like, we know if someone's about to get evicted, everything else is probably, their anxiety is probably skyrocketing, depression, thoughts. So that's kind of what I look at. That's why I can't answer about why the 22 a day, because I rarely bring it up, but it's a great point, though.
Well, it's quite ironic that you spoke this month because you do what I do. That's what I do.
Mm.
I go in the community and we talk to veterans, and a lot of them are not even deemed as recognized in the district because they're not compensated
Mhm.
or anything like that. Or so we talk about how or why you want to kill yourself or harm yourself, and then why it doesn't work. My father attempted suicide. He was of an Navy veteran, family veteran. And I was speaking with Kevin Martin, director of CRC weekly. I was in the program, your little whatevers, and I didn't get any of that. You know, if you're not actually going to hurt yourself, they don't want to help you.
And again, that's where it comes into your position being new, and a lot of it being based around the fact that they are trying to change those things. They are trying to make those advancements in mental health and start actually taking all the data and all the research that we've learned over the past 20 years and start changing the way we're looking at the care for mental health better. We understand that there's been shortcomings over the past couple decades, and now this is finally an attempt to start progressing.
Where are they doing that? Because I'm not seeing it here in the district.
He just got hired.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's just, yeah.
I'm just saying, you know.
I think that
would
has
love
6-month
to be able
evaluation
to
yet.
Talk with you more later because we talk about why things aren't going to work, why God doesn't work. Because the ultimate end is that you could end up being somebody else's care, under care. And that's what happened to my father. And the horror stories that go when you give up yourself to someone else because you thought you might not survive and it would be over. Really, the horror stories just begun.
And again, the trouble with mental health especially is the fact that every case is very individual. There is no blanket care statement that you can make. It's really is an issue of each person needing individual care and actually making sure that that person is getting the individual care that is necessary for them, instead of just assuming that some kind of blanket cure-all will work. And that's where it comes into needing.
I'm gonna make sure. Does anyone that's participating virtual have any questions or comments? If not, that's fine. I just don't, I know y'all are there watching. I don't want y'all to feel like y'all are just observing a conversation if there's questions or anything. If not, no biggie, no pressure. Okay.
I have no questions, just following along. Thank you.
Oh,
No problem. So yeah, it's one of those things, and especially like the more we see the resources being added to the community, and we actually start getting the opportunity to see getting the research, getting the numbers, seeing what data has changed since those implications have been made. It's still. We're so used to being in a society where we want immediate results, but it's a matter where this is a longitudinal study. We have to see how the care gets incorporated over time. And like you said just a few minutes ago, veterans are difficult, and they're not going to be so quick to just be like, oh, now they finally have care for me, I'm going to go sign up. And
But it's not even that. Sorry, go ahead.
it's it still is, a lot of it has to go into changing the stigmas around it to making it to where people are more comfortable getting the care. And then also the care also being readily available
Mhm.
with positions being hired like Kelly's, where you have the opportunity where people are there. And then it's like, if you can finally start getting the two hands to meet each other in the middle, then we can finally start seeing some of that care.
Well, and just to point out like this, Fallon and I were talking, she's like, how long have you been at the VA? It's like 12 years. How many times have I spoke at like a mayor's roundtable? First time.
Mhm.
And it's because we got like linked last week and all like, so I say that to say, like you said, it takes time. So my program, even though it's under suicide prevention, it's housed under the research wing at like top VA, because what they're doing is they're going to compile the three years worth of data from this position and hopefully show that the more communities that have a more active coalition show a reduction in suicide. Now, hopefully that's what the study shows. We'll know in 3 years, but yeah, I think that's kind of.
It's more of a systemic problem. Example, they give me a referral for a consult for an outside psychologist, and I end up with a counselor who after 3 sessions says, you're outside my area of parameters, I can't help you. And then they goes, and I have to start all over the process. I've been doing this for 4 years, trying to get appropriate care.
Is this through care in the community?
It's through the VA. I
Well,
go to the VA, they write a referral, this and that, and it ends, just dead ends, and I have to start over. Or.
And that's.
Because I'm brain injured, and here's the other thing I wanted to point out to you is that with the mental health, when they're not addressing the particular needs, like example, a stroke person versus a brain injured person versus a person with schizophrenia. When we all get the same treatment, there's going to be issues.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what the problem is standing in the way of my care, but somebody's flagged my account or done something that I can't get anything done. And I'm just swirling around and they keep referring me to these outside agencies. Like I'm with Pathways to Housing right now. Now, Sarah is the director of the veterans and she's doing the best that she possibly can, but it's outside her job area to do this or do this or do this, and trying to call on other people to do their part is challenging because nobody wants to do their job. It's COVID.
Well, yeah, and that's one of those kind of like you was talking about when you have the second largest bureaucracy in government, VA, and then now community resources. So it's like, yeah, people get stuck in between these two systems because if one person doesn't follow up on this, you're stuck. Like you
That's
said,
happened in almost every area.
Yeah.
My social security, my VA, all of that. I couldn't even get a job if I can't go through Department of Rehab Services.
What,
My VA.
let's get back. Any other regarding barriers, questions?
Yeah, I just want to add one thing,
What's up?
Kelly, because
Yeah,
I
that's quick.
mean, I know suicide is something that I see often. You know, I just had unfortunately a veteran that I knew of tried to commit suicide. What are some tools or just, you know, I know first thing will probably be the veteran crisis line, but as far as community members and other veterans, how can we support, you know, veterans going through it to direct them in the right path?
Oh, getting
to get assistance.
Okay, so do you mean as far as like getting them enrolled in services? Do you mean it's like if you meet someone who says like I'm having thoughts of harming myself, which
or just like, you know, coming in a professional setting such as ours. Okay, someone has an issue with suicide. What would be your best plan of action or direction?
Okay, so let's do two scenarios. I just want to make sure I'm tracking so I answer correct is all. So I'm meeting with someone and this person tells me he or she's having thoughts to harm himself. So in that setting right then, I need to make sure I get this person to safety. So if I'm in a community setting, you know, I'm going to ask, you know, are you having thoughts of harming yourself or anybody else? If that's yes, then I have to dig a little bit more. Okay, are you experiencing thoughts? Are you experiencing plan and intent? Are you making the steps to go and harm yourself? If someone is answering yes to that, your main deal should be safety, call 911. Like right there. As far as there's a great, I'm sure y'all aware of it, a Psych Armor. I can email. So Psych Armor is just basically this website with all these trainings. Like the VA uses SAFE training, which is about dealing with suicidality. That's on there as well. So for providers, I always encourage them, go on to Psych Armor, create a free account, and then there's just all sorts of trainings. SAVE is on there. There's a lot of community ones on there as well. And then as far as if you're working, say you meet a veteran, you know he or she is a veteran, but you don't really know about eligibility. The one question to ask also is like if they're registered enrolled in the VA. A lot of individuals, they're veterans and they may have been told, oh, your paperwork was sent, but they just might not be enrolled. Also, if an individual was being treated, let's say in Seattle, and moves to DC, DC has to pull their record in. If that veteran just walks in the DC VA and be like, I need to be seen, they won't pull up. So they have to pull that veteran in. So making sure that, have you ever been registered in the VA? Yes, get them there. If it's immediate, safety, 911. And in other words, if you know that they're safe, either reaching out, well, you have my information, but reaching out to make sure they're enrolled, if they're newly released TCM.
Give them the crisis intervention line.
Yeah, the crisis number for sure. I'm just trying to think if there's a simple way, because I don't want to tell you, like, okay, call the mental health aid, because it's just not going to do that.
I deal with this often. So first thing I say is, well, do you go to the VA? Because, you got to be careful how you word it, And if you say, and so I say, like, do you want to do something like right now, or do you want, is it later? That kind of thing. Because the professionalism that you have doesn't go well with many of the people I deal with. So, but yeah, it's surprising how many veterans don't realize they can get care at the VA hospital. All they need to do is go through the registration. And I had a veteran from another state who had a problem because he was getting outside care and ran into a conflict with the pharmacy. And yes, and boom. When he found out he could go to the VA, it would just change everything. Now he gets it delivered at home, doesn't have to do it.
I'm trying to, I said a lot of words. I'm just, so did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. I just know the jargon so well. I'm just like.
And that usually works. Usually they can call the local VA and find out what they need to bring in, but if they're on the system anywhere.
Yeah, another thing also you can, people can do, they can go, it's 1010EZ, they can go online and fill it out. When I was detailed, it was TCM at the time, now it's a post 9/11 program. So I was program manager there. I just told that role was coordinating care for active duty, about to retire, going into the VA. So what I told all those individuals, I'm like, hey, just run online, fill out the 1010EZ form, screenshot the confirmation, because that way it's going to automatically go to the closest VA and that'll automatically set it up. And
Same thing with the crisis line.
Yeah, crisis line.
To the direct, to the local hospital.
That's a great point. I forgot about that.
Then the local hospital reaches out. I also wanted to point out that on the VA card, if a veteran gets their VA card, there is a number that if 911 picks you up, they have that number and they bill directly to the VA. The veteran doesn't have to be involved at all. So if there's a veteran card and there's something going on, somebody can call 911 or whatever and know that they don't have to worry about who's going to pay for this. And if I do that, I don't have the money, blah, blah, blah.
That's hugely important, because I personally have been in those situations before where I've had to go to a local emergency room and they didn't know how to bill the VA. And the next thing you know, I'm getting hit up by a credit company sitting here saying, you owe us money for this hospital bill that you shouldn't have to pay for.
So the first step is getting the card. I didn't know you could go online and register beforehand.
Yeah, the ID is going to be specific to which site you're at. For example, if you're close, all CBOCs are supposed to be able to register. Certain ones, not register, print the ID card. Some can, some can't, and they nailed it. But there's another point. I'm glad you reminded me of it, because I totally forgot. I always tell individuals, like you said, contact the crisis line, because when you call the crisis line, if you're not enrolled or registered, a chart is automatically created for you, and suicide prevention has to make X amount of calls. So an individual calls the crisis line, he or she is automatically loaded. Suicide prevention has to make 3 attempts to reach that person. Then depending on the acuity, they're tracked. But the crisis line is so good.
But that also flags. A lot of veterans won't call because it does flag.
Exactly.
As a homeless or suicide prevention or whatever they call for.
It depends on the crisis call and then the clinician from the suicide prevention team.
Also there's a nurse advice line. A lot of people don't realize if you call the nurse advice line right before you go to ER, they have you and are expecting you and will speed you, expedite you through the ER if you called the nurse advice line prior to going to the ER.
It's really sad because your situation, there was an individual who I was working with when I was in polytrauma, and he followed everything to the T. He was having a panic attack, called the medical advice line. They instructed him to go to MOVA, goes there, everything, medical records submitted. What happened 2 weeks later? boom, he gets hit with like a bill. And it took me, I mean, I was like, I'm gonna fix this. Like, it took a year and a half, like fighting back and forth. So yeah, it's one of those, like, I work at the
If you know,
VA.
you know.
Well, it's like I work at the VA and I was like calling VA to NOVA and having to fight. So yeah, it's awful.
And then once
but
Inova passes it on to the creditors, it's a done deal.
But what, if they had this number, I didn't even get a bill. You know,
That's the thing though, is that a lot of people don't know that all they need to do is give the card. A
Yeah.
lot of people will be like, oh, I just know that the VA is supposed to be taking care of it. And then that's a good thing you brought it up.
Yeah.
There's so many people that will be like, I just know the VA is supposed to be taking care of this, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do. All you have to do is show that ID card, and they should know how to deal with it most of the time, especially because most of these people are just sitting at a counter. They don't know what they're doing. You're going to have to walk them through it, but as long as you take the time, and granted, yes, it's a little bit stressful because you're already there in the ER in the first place.
Just take a Xerox copy and pass it on to who. That's how it's dealt with by the patient. And this leads me to another point, okay? As veterans that don't want to receive the care because they're afraid of blah, blah, blah. Like I have a Vietnam veteran who was AWOC on 11/2/14. He thinks he's going to get hacked with going to jail. Well, of course, that's expired. That was what, 50 years ago? You know, but these are the ideas, and we have to instill that we are veterans and we deserve a certain amount of civil treatment. And suicide should not be an option. So why is that the issue when it's not your fault? So
It's still a matter of breaking down the stigmas, and that's going to take time. It's not something that can be easily done overnight. There's no real cut and dry situation that's going to be like, okay, everybody, it's magically okay to just go to.
So can we do some things since the climate of the Vietnam veteran the views of the Vietnam veterans when they came back, because that's the hot now. All the World War II veterans have pretty much died. I don't know too many celebrate them. The Veterans Day coming up in 6 months. So perhaps we could do some kind of veterans pride where we can be proud to be veterans. You know, I used to be blue, but now I'm black. You know, we have to have a sense of that we are something, that we have that protection. And if people don't know that their card is what's going to help them when they go through 9/11 or ER or whatever, that is part of that whole stigma. If I get attached to that, they're going to take my guns or this or that, you know. Am I making sense? So I would love to see, because Mr. Goodwin, who owns Tori's Restaurant at the corner of D in Georgia, wants to do events to bring the community together. He doesn't get anything from veterans or anything. But he's a Vietnam veteran that wants to get right. No. Yes. So with that, we have the facility. I tried to do some support group meetings last year. 6 weeks I ran that bitch and nobody wanted to be there but people I knew. So I think that since we have the facility, it's right there across from the Howard Hospital, that we do something to build up the pride of our veterans here in Washington, D.C. Oh, I also wanted to say the Vets Ride program includes the 100%ers plus Social Security. So if you're getting 100% plus Social Security, you could still qualify for Vets Ride. That's the new twist. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. So can we put that on the table for something that we can do something about?
We're actively putting.
Level. We should not be ashamed that we did those things in the military.
We are actively putting things together as we go, and that's a lot of that's a lot of what our focus has been since opening the city back up. So rest assured, there's stuff in the works right now. We're actively creating more and more things every day, try and find ways to get veterans back out in the public.
And I want it. Hit me whenever.
Nobody else was.
Does anyone, any other questions, concerns, comments, feedback? Support groups is like, nah, I'm good.
Look at that smile.
I feel you. No, I feel.
Aaron's just glad to be here.
All the questions were asked and answered by Robin. Thank you so much, Robin.
So Aaron, you work with the Board of Aging. How are you and your veterans in that arena? What's up with that?
Well, I'm going to be in a meeting, a DACO meeting, and I'll be sharing the information from here today. And a lot of people aren't always aware of some of the things going on. So that's why we need to maybe we should have a community board or something. I don't know. Community like board newsletter or something. VA should do that too.
The community board?
Yes.
No,
Like,
yeah.
like share it, like, it needs to go to Department of Aging and Community Living. It needs, because a lot of people don't know, in the wellness centers where some veterans go, some veterans don't know about a lot of things. I don't know how they don't, but they don't. So we have to try to share it. Because
Oh, yeah.
Robin, you know that too. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There's something else.
And like everyone on the group, like I said, my role is like coalition building. But if there's ever like VA stuff, if you have a veteran, it's just like, wait, I don't know. Just Rich has my email, Fallon. Just hit me direct, because I know the VA inside and out, and rather than people calling trying to connect, just get to me and I can handle it.
I know what I want to bring up, the Veterans Oral History Project. How many of you guys have done that, and how can we do something where we can bring that?
So that actually right now, because there were a lot of moving parts going on at one time, that's actually been pushed off until the fall for right now. We're going to be picking that back up again in the fall.
Special event permits require 6 months of planning, and if you're going to do an event, you need at least that much time to plan.
This is through a completely different,
Right.
this is something completely different
Well,
than that.
well,
Or the
I'm
presentation can be
putting an
available. Someone's
adjunct
about to leave.
to what
Yeah.
you guys are doing. I can't really be associated with mayor's office because I have no position here or
That's it.
whatever, but.
No, I was just saying it's gonna be available. I just saw the comment about someone as a patient has to go. It's gonna be available.
Yeah, it'll be available afterwards. We're pretty much wrapping up at this point.
So I think we have some things that can bring the community together, for the oral history report, the benefits, clinics where we can just, basic benefits, even just calling to say, I intend to
Yeah,
file.
okay, cool. I can interview
Okay,
again.
a lot of veterans
that?
don't
Do you want
know
me to
that.
like?
No,
come on,
yeah, pass it to
Oh,
Clinic
yeah.
on May 18th next month.
May
So,
18th?
Yeah.
I'll make sure.
Oh, there's my one deal. So, and I'll shoot it to y'all. So we're myself and if you know Ryan Heinley from the Vet Center, we're doing a collaboration. So we're doing treatment approaches in mental health. We're leaving it like that because,
Okay.
and it's going to be May 12th. I'll send you the information. Our goal was though to get speakers that you wouldn't traditionally see at VA. So for example, Steve Elmore and Sharice are screening the doc. Gamer Foundation, the huge gamer. They're going to be speaking.
Is that Jonathan?
Josh Otero out and a Warrior Gamer.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, no, a different cat. So yeah, so anyone wanted to attend, please do. The reason we're doing it again is to show that we want to reflect treatment options that are more specific to like DC VA community, and a lot of those traditional trainings you kind of can, you can kind of put it together. So we're doing non-traditional mental health treatment approaches. So if you're interested, May 12th, I'll send you the flyer. I'll send it to you as well.
May
Awesome.
12th?
May 12th, yes. It's going to be virtual and in person. So if you want to swing by and see the DC Vet Center, that's it. Also,
Okay,
it'll be
that's it.
virtual.
Which one?
I'm sure. Yeah. So that'll be option or virtual. Not to hog y'all's deal to promote the event. 'Cause I'm just gonna
Not at all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If y'all want to crash, come crash. It's from 8 to 4 when the speakers are slotted. So yeah, there's several in the morning, and in the afternoon is going to be unprescribed screening, and then afterwards a Q&A with Sharice and Steve.
Okay.
Which medical cannabis.
So when you
DCVA.
speak of alternative mental health, what do you have in mind?
So when I say alternative treatments, like we're gonna have, I think equine therapy, so like horse therapy is gonna be there. If you're familiar with treatments, you do know about that, but as far as like specific trainings, you don't get a lot of that. So you'll have equine therapy, you'll have warrior gamers, medical cannabis. The VA has a whole health program. They're gonna present. A nonprofit called Vets of Virtue, who puts together packages to send to veterans, is going to present. And there's 2 other nonprofit community engagement workers as well that are going to present as well. So it's all like community focused. Couple of VA caregiver program, whole health, they're going to present. Chief of social work is doing the opening remarks, but we really wanted to make it community providers and VA programs you really don't hear about. So hopefully it goes well, and hopefully I have a job after.
Sounds great.
Do the alternate
That's fine.
light with that, other sound.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you all.
Really appreciate it. It was
Thanks
a
for-
lot of great information that you gave us.
Thanks for asking. I appreciate it.
No, absolutely. Tony, let's turn it over to you real quick.
Okay, so, hey, how y'all doing? I'm Tony Williams, Director of Ops, and I'm a Marine Corps veteran. Thank you all for always coming to our roundtables. Do not hesitate to reach out to Richard Strauss or to Fallon Williams if you want to be a speaker, if you want to come to any of our events. Follow us on social media at DC_OVA. That's DC_OVA on IG and Twitter. And if you want to subscribe to our newsletter, visit us on ova.dc.gov. And you can get up-to-date information on what we're doing here at the Mayor's Office of Veteran Affairs. We have a lot of upcoming events for May, June, and July. So every month, we push out our information. And also, if you want to come and volunteer with us, you can either come through our office or through Serve DC. We actually have a meet and greet in Ward 4 this weekend. And I sent out the blast yesterday, but if you want to be a part of that, let us know. We have that every month. It's a mayoral event. The mayor does show up, and we just get in with the community, and you get to visit all our agencies. So we have the Mayor's Office of LGBTQ, Mayor's Office of Women Policies and Initiative, Mayor's Office of African American Affairs, and things of that nature. All amazing leaders and people in the community here to serve. So just want to say thank you on behalf of Mayor Muriel Bowser and the Mayor's Office of Veteran Affairs. So thank you.
And just a couple other things to keep on the calendar for you guys that are coming up. Fallon, you were able to reschedule your LGBTQ Veterans Happy Hour As You Are.
Yep.
It's now going to be May 24th from 5 to 7. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Our service officer, Stu, is going to be doing a education clinic up at the Reef Center on the 18th from, it's 11 to 12, correct? For
Yes,
Stu?
12,
Yeah, 11 to 12 on the 18th for an education clinic on what all services that our veteran service officer is able to provide for every residents of the district. Next roundtable will be on the 26th. Same bat time, same bat channel. Probably gonna be back in room 14 for that one, but this was just they had the room taken today. Other than that, I think that covers everything for the month of May. Anything else that comes up, I will definitely make sure to blast that. Any save rounds from anyone?
Memorial Day is in May.
Memorial Day, of course. I think we do have some stuff that's coming down the line still for that. There's still some planning that's going around with the Memorial Day events. So,
I think these are good opportunities for us to tap into what these triggers
Yes.
do for the people that are still associated.
Now, I will say May is Mental Health Awareness Month. I am already planning something planning a presentation for that to actually go a little bit deeper into the mental health aspects of the veteran community. That's going to be a little bit something from like my own personal expertise, things that I've seen.
Okay, I have to work with you on that because, I have the color in this app that a VA doesn't have no clue about. They want to do the stuff, but they don't want to I don't know, there's no accreditation in these areas. The alternative therapy just is not accredited for certificate. I got some certificates, but I don't.
Gotta be evidence-based. Gotta be evidence-based. All right. Any other save rounds? Anyone online? No? All right. Well, thank you everybody for your time and
Thanks, y'all.
much appreciated. We will post this up online hopefully soon if I can figure out how to do it. One of these days. I'm gonna figure it out. But thank you everyone and y'all enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Y'all take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Robert, I never realized
I have a lot of experiences in the last 40 years.